Mike's camera action this week is all about space and science, what I love. It's in fact about a little red planet.
A little red planet which has mountains that are taller than Mount Everest, canyons deeper than any that you will find on Earth. We are talking about Mars. But why are we talking about this little red planet? Let's find out.
So Mars is fascinating, right? It's always been, a thing of legends, a thing that, all of us at Earth look at and say, oh, wow, that's super cool. I think other than the moon, Mars is the next sort of main planetary object that most people know about, right?
Yeah, most people know about, and like you said, fascinating planet. And I think it's interesting for us more than anything else is because it's so similar to Earth, right? It's very close compared to the other planets. It has a lot of landforms. It's a terrestrial planet, which means it's not made up of gases like some planets are, for example, Jupiter. So it has a proper surface. It has, like we said, mountains and valleys. It also has seasons because you know how Earth is basically tilted. It has an axial tilt. So which means we get winter, spring, summer, autumn. So does Mars. It has different seasons. And it also had supposedly, now, we've explored Mars a lot, then we found that it also supposedly had water, like liquid water. It's just that, we don't know where and how long ago, but it did. So it's so similar to Earth.
It is. But why are we talking about it this time around? Why are we diving deep into Mars? What happened over the last couple of weeks?
Well, the biggest mystery, and if you are a sci-fi fan, you know this, the biggest mystery that people here on Earth have been trying to decipher is where else can we find life in this entire universe, right? And Mars is that one planet where we've got all our hopes pinned. And the latest discovery is that there could be, maybe, perhaps, probably is a sign of life on Mars. We don't know for sure, but it's the first indication that it's possible.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting, right? Because when you think about Mars, we've always had these movies. We've always had NASA and ISRO and everyone kind of planning trips to Mars with the intention of finding life or with the intention of finding some signs that life could potentially be possible on Mars. It's not even just to find life, it's to decide whether it's even possible on Mars, because I think the Earth is
We're planning for a future.
Exactly.
Yes.
The Earth is getting too crowded. We're killing it. So we need another planet to go to and, colonize and maybe kill in the next few 100 million years. So I think that's basically also a very, very important reason why Mars is so interesting. And now they have actually found a little rock. Now you guys have to go and see this image. If you haven't seen the image of this rock or the picture of this rock, you should, because it's actually so interesting. When I first saw it, what they're looking at in this piece of rock are little spots, literally spots, which are blackish, grayish. And that has got the entire science community so excited, because those spots in context to what happens on Earth, those spots usually only happen when there was some life form or there was an excretion from a life form, which means some animal or some bacteria pooped, right? And there's some leftover microbial, content.
Dots.
Dots. And it's really, really small. It's insignificant when you think about the size of the planet. This is one rock piece in the Jezero crater. But please go look at the image if you haven't. It's fascinating.
In fact, it's been described as leopard spots because it's got this like a strange, it's not an exact circle, so it's like look a little bit like a leopard spot. But insignificant to look at perhaps, but so significant if it actually turns out that it is a sign of life on Mars, right? Because like we said, people believed that long ago Mars had water, it had rivers and lakes, maybe even had an ocean, right? So if it had water, then what are the chances? Maybe it had life. If it's true, it's the first ever sign of life anywhere else other than Earth.
Yeah, and everyone's really, really excited about this. And when I say excited about this, they really are. All your Neil deGrasse Tyson and, all of those guys, they're all super, super excited about this find because it could possibly mean there was some sort of life form in the past in Mars. In fact, Debbie, you were reading a book which talked about that as well, right?
Yeah, so I'm reading this really interesting book called Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's a science fiction book. It's super interesting and it talks about how human beings basically, like Kiran, you said, we destroyed Earth in this fictitious telling. We've destroyed Earth and now we are, sending out spaceships and spacecraft to find. So that's the basic premise of this book.
This book, did we first start in Mars and then move to Earth, or did we start in Earth and then move to Mars?
No. So in this book, we have basically, it starts in space because Earth has already been destroyed. And now we're looking for other planets that we can set up home in, right? And I think that's also, it's connected to what we're saying today because Mars is being looked at as that alternative, right? I know Elon Musk, for example, is super excited about setting up base on Mars. That has never happened so far.
Yeah.
We've been trying since the 1970s. In fact, if you look back a little bit, let's go back in time. In the 1970s, NASA, which is the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which is the US independent agency, which focuses all its research on space and space programs, they actually sent 2 Viking landers to Mars. That was the first time. They did soil experiments, tried to see if they could create Earth-like conditions by adding water and food to see if there are any microbes present that could eat, develop life on Mars. But nothing really came out of that, but that was the first time we actually tried to, actually find alien life. This is 1970s, long, long ago.
Yeah.
Since then, there have been multiple missions, right? There's the Pathfinder mission. They discovered that Mars actually had rivers at one point. Then there was the Spirit and Opportunity rovers, which went and found minerals that form only in water on Mars.
The Mars rover, that was a big one, right? The rover the little robot going on its own and driving itself across Mars.
Yeah, exactly. And finding that, hey, you know what? There could have been water on this planet, which means there could have been life on this planet. Mm-hmm. And then there was another, I love these rover names, by the way. They're so cool, right? There was the Spirit and Opportunity I just mentioned. Then there was another one called Curiosity, which is basically like a rolling science lab. And this is around 2012 that this went out. And again, it found some kind of fossilized ingredients for life, which is, again, some kind of hope that there is life there. Then Europe and China also joined in trying to study Mars's atmosphere, its air. They found out that Mars's atmosphere is actually mostly carbon dioxide, again, which is not really great for us because we need oxygen. But again, so much research, so much money, just trying to find out if life is possible or life exists on Mars at all. And this is the latest, right? Like you said, it's been found on the Jezero crater by another cool rover called the Perseverance. I like that. Right? We are not going to give up. Perseverance means you stick to it, you don't give up.
Wherever it is, we are going to find a way to Mars. And in fact, the moon is being built as a launch pad for Mars because Mars is extremely, extremely far away from Earth. And so because it is so far, what we are trying to do is set up the moon as a base where we can get to the moon faster and then have a base set up over there to then shoot into Mars.
Yeah, it's like making a pit stop, right? So I guess that's what it is. See, currently, I just looked it up quickly while you were talking, Kiran. It takes typically with the current technology and, for these rovers that we are sending, a mission typically takes around 7 to 10 months. But these missions are without any human beings, without any cargo, without anything. Like you're just literally going and sending a rover.
So it takes 10 months to get to Mars? That's it?
That's what they're, indicative, roughly. Yeah. But this is, obviously it's not a straight line. There are lots of other factors, but with human beings on board, I don't know how long that will take. So that will be interesting to find out. But yes, so these are the latest discoveries so far. The question though is, have we really found life? Someone actually said it very nicely. This discovery is about telling the difference between biology and chemistry, right? Biology, why? If it is actually a life form or a sign of life, then there's biology that's involved. But if it's just a chemical reaction where certain minerals have reacted with a certain maybe oxygen or carbon dioxide or with heat or other conditions and created something that looks like life but isn't, right?
Like
So how do you tell the
oxidization,
difference?
right? Yeah. That's a cool one. Is it chemistry or is it biology? What do you guys think? I'm pretty excited.
And another interesting thing, by the way, before we wrap up today, I wanted to point out is so many rovers have gone up to Mars to study, okay? So many missions have been sent up, but none of them have come back to Earth with any of those samples yet. Isn't that interesting? Like since the 70s, we've been doing this, but none of them have
Wow.
actually made it back.
It's crazy. So all the science has been happening on Mars itself. And
Yes,
all the
exactly.
sort of science lab work has been happening where these rovers, Opportunity, Curiosity, Perseverance, all have been doing it themselves. We humans have actually not touched anything Mars till now.
Correct, exactly. So, and
That's
that is
crazy.
the next big mission. Okay, so NASA is working with the ESA, which is the European Space Agency. It's called the Mars Sample Return Mission. Remember, we said like
Yeah.
we come up with these names which are like so obvious. They state exactly what they do. They don't try and beat it on the bush.
Go to Mars, get sample, come back. That should be the project name,
Exactly.
yeah.
And then there'll be an acronym for that. So this is called the MSR, Mars Sample Return Mission, which is going to try and bring rocks that the Perseverance has collected back to Earth so we can study them.
That's awesome. And I know for a fact that even our own country, India, has a mission to Mars. But is that something to do with the quiz question today?
Yes, it is, because how can we forget? We've mentioned that so many countries have launched missions to go to Mars. So have we. India did launch one, a very cool mission, in fact. The mission went out, I think it was in
2014?
2014 sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It went out in 2014. It was the first interplanetary mission that India sent out. And it actually, we lost contact with the
satellite,
the rover.
with-
We lost contact with the satellite in 2022. But what is interesting is it was actually supposed to last only 6 months and it lasted 7 years. So that's something to be proud of, that our
That's
technology
amazing.
did
The
so
amount
well.
of the amount of data that it could have sent us back as well is crazy.
Yeah, and it
So
did.
what
It
is
did for 7 years.
What is the quiz question?
The question is, what is this mission called? India's mission to Mars. What was it called? Super simple.
Very simple. Does it have something to do with the name?
Yeah, why are you giving away more information than required, Kiran? Our listeners are very smart. They will figure this out and they will tell us what that mission to Mars is called.
As always, make sure you go figure it out. First, find a picture of this, these leopard spots that we just talked about on this episode. Then find out what India's mission to Mars was called. Send us the answer on takarokids.com or on our Instagram handle takaro_kids. Make sure that you send in your answers because you could potentially win a gift certificate and a Takaro Kids shirt. In fact, that is exactly what happened from last week's quiz question, which was all about Nepal. We went to, the Mount Everest. This time we leaped even further to Mars. But what was the quiz question for last week, Debbie?
The quiz question from last week was, what is so special about Nepal's flag?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I actually asked this around even to friends and everything. Most people did not know. It's very cool. It's very, very interesting.
I mean,
What was-
I've never thought about it too till I looked it up. And it's such a cool flag. And what is so special? We got the correct answers from a little boy called Aryaveer. Big congratulations to Aryaveer. His answer was, the flag, the Nepal flag, is the only one which is not square or rectangle. It is actually made up of 2 triangles.
So cool. I actually didn't know it was the only flag that was weirdly shaped and not a
Yeah.
square or a rectangle that we're used to. So Aryaveer, who's in LKG, congratulations. And what makes Debbie and me so happy is that we are getting through to kids your age as well. So it is amazing to to know that you listen to us. And thank you so much. Your gift certificate is on the way to your parents, and your t-shirt as well. We will make sure you have that as soon as possible.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Tukaru Kids. Until next week, it's goodbye from us.
Bye-bye.